Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to all those just dropping in to see me, and welcome to all my subscribers. Look at those fingers. It's because I've literally just finished this book. It's hot off the press. This is my design team project for Bee Happy Stationery using the graphics garden notes. You're just going to see a little excerpt now of the papers. There's only a handful of papers within this set, so I'll have a look at them and we will follow that with the flip through. For my design team project for Sandra at Bee Happy Stationery, I've decided to use this garden notes set. I'm going to show you the images now. So this is garden notes, obviously, and there's only 6 printables. So I've printed off 6 onto different types of paper, hand-dyed papers, and some of them I've repeated because I've done them in black and white and they look really funky, as you will see when I do my journal flip through. So this is actually number 2 of the 6 garden notes. Look at those amazing colours. Now these are printed on some handmade papers that I got in Vietnam, but the colours have absolutely come up amazing, so beautiful. That's what happens when you work with such beautiful graphics. I love the pussycat, I love the bird. Now I do believe these whimsical characters appear in others of Sandra's kits, but for me I'm just focusing on the garden notes. I printed these off on these handmade papers to make my ephemera with. I'm going to decorate my journal, but I've also got some of my own ephemera ready, and I'm going to decorate some of these with these bits and bobs. So to enhance what those were already, those were vintage, but to enhance some of the things that I've made, let's have a look. So to enhance some of the things that I've made, I'm going to add elements from Sandra's kit. There's such clear cut images back on the handmade papers here. Journaling space. I love that these look like, well, I look at them and they look real, but they also look like they could be beautifully watercolour painted as well. So I love this. This is one of my favourite images, Sandra. Those flowers. I love the daffodils. The daffodils certainly look real. This is on tracing paper. And then this is actually image number 1 of the 6. Oop, some sticky on my glass mat there. Just been varnished, doing some crackle glaze. That's very, very pretty as well. Look at the little birdie features there. There feature the buttercups and forget-me-nots, the daffodils and the little girl. So yeah, they're absolutely beautiful. Aren't they absolutely marvellous papers? I absolutely love them. The graphics are so pretty and I love the whimsy as well. So let's start off by telling you the size of this journal. It is almost 7 inches by 8.5 inches, and the spine on this side is 1.5, and it's a little bit wider there, but it can close up tighter, but I've chosen to just let it relax where it wants to relax. Now these papers are so pretty. As I looked at them, I had the thought of doing quite a simplistic cover, and for some reason my printer printed out in black and white, did some printing out in black and white to some of the graphics, so I've used the black and white graphics, as you'll see. However, I thought let's stick with some of that black and white, with some of that simpler style to complement the colourful graphics that are inside this journal. I have used some antique music paper, and it's called Woodland Stream. I've put some pressed flowers on there, as you can see, and then I've sealed them all in. This is edged with a blanket stitch, and on the back you can see some more of that paper, and then a little strip of paper from Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady. You see how shiny it is? I wanted this to look like somebody had literally in their shed put a book together to make notes about their garden, the sort that you might find at an antique centre, representing something that somebody's made to make their garden notes. This necklace around is actually of ethnic origin. I'm not sure how old it is. I don't think it's too exceptionally old. However, it does look quite vintage. It has got quite a length at the back there, so you can make the book, so if the book's wider, it can be made bigger, or you can tighten it up dependent on what you would like to do. So let's just slide that off. Now I have fastened this together with ribbon, as you can see there, and you can see on the ribbons which I've left dangling down, I've put some little bits of journal jewellery. So let's just undo this, and then you can see that piece of jewellery there. Now, as I've just this minute finished this, I thought, do you know what? I'm going to treat, it's weekend, Saturday, Sunday actually, I'm going to treat myself to a glass of wine. So bear with me while I have a little tiny sip. So here we go. So we open up. If you've any questions, please leave them below. This is actual varnish that I've used to get this really, really shiny effect. And in fact, at the minute, it reminds me of the smell of my grandfather's shed, work shed. I mean, the smell will go away. It is going to subside. I don't think you're buying a book that whiffs of varnish. It will eventually subside. It's because it's just been done. So let's open up. So inside here is just the music paper, the black and white. I am denied about putting a pocket here, but I just like the graphic on the first page here, this little bird. So I thought, you know, that is enough. I don't need pockets. I don't need anything else. If whoever gets this journal wants to put a pocket on, then that is entirely up to them. There's a vintage Suffolk puff and a vintage or antique glass button there. And this is the only bit of trim really in the book, because I thought if this is somebody's garden notes, then they're not really going to want to have lots of lace and things. Oh, sorry, there is some trim there, but that is removable. They're not going to want to have lace and things on. So there we go. And over the page it says garden notes. There's 2 signatures in here, and I've used virtually a sheet of each of the papers that I've shown you. Some of them I might have used twice. I've also used some of my own papers, and I've used some of my own ephemera as well, but like this is a piece of my own ephemera, but I've actually enhanced it with the pussycat, the Whimsical pussycat from the collection. These are some vintage trim. The papers that I've printed on are actually various original vintage papers, and this is a artist trading card. It's a vintage artist trading card. Excuse me, I bought a box and it was absolutely full of them, so I've got lots and lots of these, and there are some in my Etsy shop. Some little butterflies there. So here we've got a little wallet envelope. This is my own stamp. It's my own, some other paper that I had in there, but I just thought it went nicely. And in here, I've just put some of the paper from the kit that can be used as a journaling space. I did say 2 signatures, didn't I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 12, 24, 48 sides. Here, this is from a different kit. This is some that I already had. I put a little fabric swatch there because I thought that just went lovely with this journal. That's actually out of the Whimsical, the Winter Woodland from Bee Happy Stationery. That was from that journal. I had it left over. So this is a tag that I made using some of my, this is vintage 1930s music paper over the top of a tag shape and that I'd printed onto to make the tag shape. But then I've added some of Sandra's graphics onto there. Aren't they just superb, those graphics? This is Braille paper, so it's got a great feeling. I do love the feeling. And also I must tell you that every single page is covered in clear gesso, so it has sort of got a scratchy feel to it, but you can still write on that. Here we go. This is the back of the little fabric swatch. Beautiful graphics. There's another little pocket here. I've done pockets and envelopes and things because they remind me of, in my granddad's, he used to have lots of greenhouses, and he used to have they were all connected onto each other, and he used to have a lovely desk there, old desk, and on his desk he used to always have lots of seed packets, you know, from seeds he collected. So I thought, let's have pockets, let's have envelopes. So this is some that printed off on black and white. Printed off black and white. Can you hear that? That's the clear gesso with a scratchy feeling. And in here, this paper is a photograph that I took of a garden, and I've printed it. That was at Inverary Castle, and I've printed it onto paper and made this pocket. So here we go. Here's a little folder made from Edith Holden. We've got the cute little whimsical guy on the front, and it opens up as a little notebook. And this is like drawing paper or painting paper. It's handmade paper, but I thought, how lovely would that be? It's come out a little tiny bit. How lovely would that be for drawing or painting on? Here we've got a little pocket, and it's one of those artist trading cards, and I've left the information of the artist on the back of that one. This paper is out of the kit. These are out of vintage Ladybird books. We've also got, there's a pocket there. There's a pocket at the back. Not all pockets are filled. The majority are. There is some of the paper from the kit to write on. I've just collaged some pieces of paper onto the back of that as well. Just thought it looked nice. Looked nice on there. So that little notebook, just cut that little piece up. Oh, it's a piece of, you know, the tear off strip for the sticky. That just sits very nicely in there, and we can see the little whimsical man. I do love the whimsy that Sandra creates at Bee Happy Stationery. So again, you can see this is eco-dyed paper of my own. There, this is printed on vintage lined paper. Here we've got golden envelope. Like I said, there is a theme of envelopes, and I've put these flowers on, and I've used diamond glaze to seal them and to give that shine. There's some of the papers at the back there, and inside is some modern paper that's made to look vintage. So that's a journaling space, and this is vintage graph paper. think it's from an architect's notebook. Well, it is from I know it's from an architect's notebook. And I just had that popping out at the side there, so it looks like it is actually a trim. This is vintage lace, broderie and glaze lace that I dyed with green tea. Let's turn over. There's the middle. And I've left the ribbon dangling down. You can cut those off if you want to. There's a rusty pin with a little jewel dangling down on there. These daffodils are lovely, aren't they? Little pieces of paper I've cut off there. Lovely. I've made a pocket out of some of the graphics. And here I've just decorated an envelope. This is a vintage envelope, and inside there we've got some more paper just to write on. That's a vintage British stamp there from 1972. And that just sits in there. I love this because I'm not quite sure how it's happened. So I took a photograph with the mushrooms on, and somehow there's an imprint of them on this piece of paper. You see that? Don't know how that's happened, but it looks fab, doesn't it? Oh, it looked really good. Happy accident. Just do not know how that has occurred. Oh, there's the paper, the one with the mushrooms on. So whether it's when I've put the gesso on, it's come through. It must be. Yeah, because it's in exactly the same place. That looks good, doesn't it? I'll have to remember that for the future. There's some vintage ledger here. This is Victorian ledger, so it's way over 100 years old, probably about 140, 150 years old. This is a copy of a vintage or antique postcard, and I've put gesso on there so that it can be written on, because I've printed this onto paper, not onto paper, onto fabric. That's fabric. This is where it printed in black and white, as I said. I'm not quite sure why it did that, but it looks good in black and white, doesn't it? To me, it looks as good as it does when it's in colour. Some more of the braille paper, and here is a pocket that's like not like an envelope. It's like a heart. And this is some botanical paper. We've got another of those vintage artist trading cards just in there. And here I've just decorated a glassine bag, and in it it's got a little tag with the pussycat on, and that's got coffee stained paper on the back, and that just fits in there. Here's some paper which is vintage music score that I've stitched through the middle of there, and here is another envelope. There is two little pockets there. I thought they're good, like to put little receipts and things in, you know, from if you've been to the nurseries to buy seeds, you can put your receipts in, or little notes. So this is a vintage seed envelope from a seed merchant in Kings Lynn, Norfolk. Established 1770. I think this is probably from the 40s or 50s. And inside is a journaling card where I have put here, this is some of the graphics from Bee Happy Stationery, and there as well. And these have been run through the embosser too. Now that I've got my craft room much more organised, I'm trying to use the equipment that I have, as it's much more easily accessible. Again, using the gesso, it's obviously come through there, so we've got some leaves, and the cat's head looks good. This is eco-dyed paper. I think this is green tea. I'm on to the second signature now. So I've got another envelope, and this is from, I'm not sure, it's from Germany. Oh, 1964. Couldn't have been bolder, could it really? And I loved it because of all the floral stamps on. And whoops, here we go. This is a tag that I've edged in some of that green tea dyed vintage, whoops, there, green tea vintage broderie anglaise. Again, it's been through the embosser. I did like putting the green on. It reminded me of like when you get, you know, when you get the grass smears. Do you remember when you were little and you used to go sliding down the hill and things, and you'd get home and your mum would say, have you been sliding down the hill? No. Your mum would say, I think you have. No, I haven't. Well, what's that on your knees, or what's that on your elbow, or what's that on the back of your pants? Oh yes, oh yes, that green telltale sign. Here we've got, this is a photograph that I took of some rhododendrons up in Scotland. So here we've got a little envelope which I've embellished with some of the graphics, and in here we have got a journaling card made with some of the graphics, and then on the back is a little bit of mixed media art, and it's actually using one of the, this is a artist trading card, but underneath is a wipe, like a kitchen towel that I've used to wipe up paint. I keep everything I keep, and that is the colours of paint, and I just felt it lent itself lovely to this. So that is there. And also is this little fabric, it's actually a tea bag. It says on handmade with love, Bee Divine Vintage. And if we open it up, it's got a vintage calling card inside. And that is just in there. It fastens with a little button. It's got a fairy on and some vintage applique. And it's been covered with paper stiffener, fabric stiffener, because it is a fabric tea bag, and it's been coffee stained as well. So that was on there, and this was on here. Look at that, that's red cabbage stain. Again, it's come through with the gesso. I love that effect. I love it. You know the pattern from the back of the paper? That is just there. Black and white, printed on music score. And we turn over, journaling spaces. And here, a little bit of blue on there. Here is just a little tiny pocket. It's a faux envelope. And just a little card that I made, little journaling card. We've got another envelope here, and in here we've got, I'm frightened because I've only just finished these. I'm frightened to if any of the glue's still slightly wet. So here's a tag that I made, and we've got the Whimsical teddy bear. Yeah, I'm frightened of the glue, that it's not quite set. You can see that every single, as in my usual style, there is every single page is stitched around, and I've left the threads, and all the pages have started at the same point, so all the threads are there together. So it's up to whoever buys this journal whether or not they want to cut those threads off or keep them on. This paper, this music score is antique. It's called Little Flower, so I thought that fit in really nice. As you can see, I've strengthened some of these pages with washi tape. And in here, I've got a little, I think this was sent to me in a swap. So I put a little honeybee there. And inside here, I've popped, there's an envelope that I made from origami paper. There's a little fairy tag that's done onto coffee stained fabric gesso again, so it can be written on. And in the front compartment there is a not fabric, this is like well, it is fabric, tea cloth, but more, I don't know what they're called, it's a tea bag anyway, it's a decorated tea bag. And then there's another that this is fabric tea bag that I've painted myself, and it says on there, handmade with love from Bee Divine Vintage. I put those in there. I thought you might want them as your own little seed packages or whatever. And that just sits nicely in here. It was in there, isn't it? In that pocket. And then, oh, I've just put the frame around the little girl. So I decorated the frame with that kitchen roll that I'd used to wipe up, but I thought it looked, that I'd used to wipe up some paint, but it looks nice. It just brings some colour to that black and white page and just frames that little girl. Some red cabbage stained paper. And at the back here, we've got another of those heart-shaped pockets made from Country Dry Edith Holding, Edwardian lady. I've put another piece of paper in there, that's the little bluebird, because I thought we've started with the bluebird, so we'll finish with the bluebird in there. So the bluebird's in there. There's a little tag that I made just in there, and then another little cluster that I made. This is vintage from the 60s ticket from Liverpool. You never know, that could have been on the same buzz as the Beatles have been on. That's there. And there we go, garden notes. So there we are, that is the journal. So that is using the graphics from Bee Happy Stationery. So thank you so much, Sandra. That's my design team project. I hope you like it, Sandra. I hope everyone who's watched this video likes it. So as I said earlier, please comment, share, like, subscribe, and go over to Sandra's shop. It's Bee Happy Stationery, and it's BEE, and that is on Ko-fi, where you can get Sandra's graphics, and they are a very, very good price. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again real soon. Thank you.